The noise around the New England Patriots just refuses to quiet down, and this time it is all about one name that has fans split right down the middle. The possibility of adding A.J. Brown has gone from a long-shot dream to a complicated chess match, and over the past few days the reports have been pulling in opposite directions. On one side, national insiders are suggesting that conversations are alive and that interest has intensified. On the other, voices closer to New England are signaling that the asking price coming from the Philadelphia Eagles might be so steep that it borders on unrealistic. That tension alone tells you this situation is far from settled. According to a recent update from ESPN, league executives believe a serious offer could center around a second-round selection as the foundation of a deal. That immediately sparks debate because when you are talking about a receiver of Brown's caliber, a second-rounder feels light on paper. Yet at the same time, there is a sense that Philadelphia's front office, led by Howie Roseman, is not in any rush to move one of its premier offensive weapons. The Eagles are known for squeezing maximum value out of every negotiation, and there is a growing belief that if a trade were to happen, it would require an offer strong enough to make them uncomfortable to refuse. What makes this more intriguing is the consistent connection between Brown and New England. Around the league, many view the Patriots as the most logical landing spot if he is dealt. You hear other franchises mentioned, like the Buffalo Bills or the Cleveland Browns, but the gravitational pull keeps bringing the conversation back to Foxborough. There is familiarity, there are relationships, and there is an obvious roster need. The Patriots' wide receiver room, as it stands today, lacks a proven, dominant presence who can tilt coverage every single Sunday. From a football perspective, the appeal is obvious. Brown continues to produce at a high level. Even in what some critics labeled a quieter season by his standards, he still cleared 1,000 receiving yards, found the end zone multiple times, and commanded defensive attention on nearly every snap. That kind of consistency does not grow on trees. It is not something you casually replace in the draft and expect immediate results. Proven production in the National Football League, carries enormous value because projection and reality are two very different things. At the same time, the Eagles' leverage is strengthened by the financial structure of Brown's contract. If Philadelphia were to move him before the beginning of June, the dead cap hit would be massive, creating serious limitations on their flexibility. After that date, the financial burden drops significantly, which completely changes the equation. That timing factor alone suggests patience might be required. If the Eagles are going to take on a painful cap consequence, they will demand compensation that justifies it. If they wait, the cost to trade him could become more manageable, both financially and in draft capital. For the Patriots, this becomes a philosophical debate as much as a roster decision. Is one elite wide receiver the missing piece that accelerates a return to championship contention? Or does sacrificing premium draft assets slow down a broader rebuild? That is the balance being weighed by the leadership group, including head coach Mike VRABEL and executive Elliott Wolf. They understand the urgency to surround their quarterback with legitimate weapons, but they also recognize the importance of protecting long-term flexibility. There is also the matter of market dynamics. If multiple teams are quietly checking in, that drives the price upward. Even if some clubs ultimately back away, the mere perception of competition can inflate expectations. Philadelphia can afford to be patient. They are not being forced into this by locker room turmoil or an expiring contract crisis. Reports suggest they would listen to offers, but only if the return is overwhelming. That word is key. Not fair. Not reasonable. Overwhelming. From New England's perspective, the urgency is tied to offensive identity. The current depth chart features young, developing players who have flashed potential but have not yet proven they can anchor a passing attack through the grind of a full season. Adding Brown would immediately change defensive game plans. Safeties would shade to his side. Corners would require help over the top. That ripple effect can elevate everyone else on the field. It is not just about his stat line. It is about how his presence alters structure. Yet surrendering a first-round selection is never a casual decision. First-round picks represent opportunity, cost control, and the chance to add cornerstone talent. The Patriots have been building towards sustainable success, and part of that process relies on drafting well and retaining flexibility. If the Eagles are demanding a first-rounder plus additional premium assets, The question becomes whether that investment aligns with the timeline of the roster. A team selecting in the top 10 views that pick very differently than a contender selecting near the end of the round. Context matters. There is also a strategic element to waiting. If this drags deeper into the offseason and the Eagles recognize that the market is not delivering the Kings' ransom they envisioned, the tone could soften. A deal structured around a future first-round selection, perhaps paired with a young player, might become more realistic after the financial calendar shifts. That scenario would reduce the immediate cap strain for Philadelphia and potentially lower the draft capital required from New England. Ultimately, what we are witnessing is a standoff shaped by value, timing, and ambition. Brown is talented enough to justify aggressive pursuit. The Patriots are motivated enough to explore bold moves. The Eagles are disciplined enough to demand top dollar. When those three forces collide, negotiations rarely resolve quickly. As free agency approaches and the draft looms in the distance, every rumor, every report, and every subtle comment will be dissected because the implications stretch far beyond a single player. They touch on direction, identity, and how soon this franchise believes it can realistically chase another Lombardi trophy. As this situation continues to unfold, the real debate inside New England circles is not just about talent. It is about timing and conviction. If the New England Patriots truly believe they are ready to accelerate their return to contender status, then moves like this cannot be viewed through a cautious lens. They have spent the last stretch of seasons trying to re-establish an offensive identity, searching for explosiveness, searching for reliability, and most importantly, searching for someone who can command respect the moment he steps onto the field. A.J. Brown is that type of presence. He is not a developmental projection. He is not a situational contributor. He is a tone setter. When you evaluate what he would bring to the Patriots, it goes beyond numbers on a stat sheet. His physicality at the line of scrimmage forces defensive backs into uncomfortable situations. His ability to separate on intermediate routes creates windows that quarterbacks trust. And in the red zone, where games are often decided, he becomes a matchup nightmare. The Patriots have lacked that kind of certainty in critical moments. Too often drives have stalled because there was no automatic option when coverage tightened. Brown changes that dynamic instantly. However, this entire conversation circles back to the asking price set by the Philadelphia Eagles. Their front office has built a reputation for extracting maximum value in negotiations. They are not known for making sentimental decisions. If they move a premier receiver, it will be because the return strengthens their roster structure in a meaningful way. That likely means a premium draft selection and possibly additional compensation. From their perspective, there is no urgency to settle for less. They understand what elite wide receivers cost in today's market, and they know teams in need can grow impatient. The financial element continues to loom over everything. Before the start of June, the cap implications would be heavy for Philadelphia. That reality alone suggests that patience could reshape the landscape. After that point, the financial hit becomes more manageable, and the Eagles would gain greater flexibility to reallocate resources. For the Patriots, that timing could be critical. A deal completed later in the offseason might require fewer draft assets because the financial burden shifts. That is why some within league circles believe this storyline could stretch well into the summer. From a roster construction standpoint, the Patriots must weigh immediate impact against long-term sustainability. A first-round selection represents more than a single player. It represents 5 years of cost-controlled potential. It represents flexibility in shaping the future core of the team. Trading that away for an established veteran signals confidence that the roster is closer to competing than many might assume. It also signals belief that the player acquired can be the catalyst for a deep postseason push. There is also the psychological dimension. Bringing in a player of Brown's stature would send a message to the locker room. It would communicate that management is willing to invest aggressively in proven excellence. For young players, that can be energizing. It raises standards. It reinforces that mediocrity is not acceptable. The Patriots have historically thrived when expectations are clear and talent aligns with ambition. Adding a star receiver could reignite that edge. At the same time, critics will argue that one player does not guarantee a championship. They will point to the depth required across the roster, to the importance of protecting the quarterback, to the necessity of defensive balance. All of those points carry weight. But elite offenses often revolve around a central force, someone defenses must account for on every snap. Brown fits that description. He is capable of turning routine plays into explosive gains. He can swing momentum in a matter of seconds. As speculation continues, the fan base remains divided. Some see the move as bold and necessary, a calculated risk that aligns with a vision of rapid resurgence. Others see it as potentially reckless, sacrificing valuable draft capital for a player who, while outstanding, cannot solve every structural issue. That tension reflects the broader crossroads at which the franchise stands. Is this a gradual build focused on internal development, or is it time to make a decisive leap? Another factor to consider is how the rest of the league responds. If rival teams decide the cost is too steep and step back, Philadelphia's leverage could weaken. Negotiations in professional football are rarely static. They evolve with injuries, with draft outcomes, with unexpected roster shifts. A scenario in which the Eagles reassess their position later in the offseason is not far-fetched. In that environment, the Patriots could re-engage with a stronger negotiating stance. What remains undeniable is the talent involved. Brown has consistently proven that he can produce at an elite level against top competition. His track record is not built on one breakout season, but on sustained excellence. For a franchise searching for offensive stability, that reliability is attractive. It reduces uncertainty. It provides clarity in planning. Coaches can design schemes around a player they trust to win isolated matchups. As the offseason calendar advances, every passing week adds another layer to the story. Free agency decisions will influence draft strategy. Draft selections will influence trade leverage. And through it all, the question persists. How far is New England willing to go to secure a player who could redefine its offense? The answer will reveal more than just their valuation of a wide receiver. It will reveal their assessment of where they truly stand in the competitive landscape of the National Football League. For now, conversations continue behind closed doors. Evaluations are ongoing. Scenarios are being modeled. Whether this ultimately results in a blockbuster move or fades into another offseason rumor, the implications are significant. Because if the Patriots decide to push their chips toward the center of the table, it will not simply be about acquiring talent. It will be about declaring that the path back to contention demands bold action, calculated risk, and unwavering belief in the impact one extraordinary player can deliver. What makes this saga so compelling is that it represents more than a single transaction. It reflects where the Patriots see themselves in their competitive cycle. Are they ready to push chips into the center of the table, convinced that one transformative receiver changes everything? Or do they continue methodically building, trusting that patience will yield a sustainable contender? The answer to that question will determine whether A.J. Brown becomes the next marquee name in Foxborough or remains a tantalizing what-if in an offseason filled with speculation. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to Patriots Hub and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest updates on our New England Patriots. And don't be shy, share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are growing louder around Foxborough, and the tone feels unmistakably different. Inside league circles, the belief is that the New England Patriots are preparing for a sharp shift in philosophy under head coach Mike VRABEL. Sources close to the situation suggest VRABEL has flipped the aggressive switch, pushing the organization toward a bold move that could ripple across the NFL. The rumor gaining traction is simple, yet explosive. The New England Patriots are setting their sights on a top-tier edge rusher, the kind of defensive weapon capable of redefining a unit overnight. Nothing is confirmed, no names are officially attached, but executives from rival franchises are reportedly on alert. When VRABEL-led teams smell an opportunity to dominate the line of scrimmage, history suggests hesitation is not part of the plan. Around the league, the chatter frames this potential move as more than roster maintenance. It is being interpreted as a statement of intent. VRABEL's background as a physical, relentless defender still shapes his football identity, and insiders believe he wants a defense that dictates terms, not reacts. An elite edge presence would fit perfectly into that vision, collapsing pockets, forcing rush decisions, and setting a tone that carries from the first snap onward. What makes the speculation even more intriguing is the Patriots' apparent willingness to challenge traditional expectations. For years, The franchise was known for calculated restraint. Now, rival scouts whisper about front office conversations that feel urgent, almost impatient. The idea circulating is that New England sees a narrow window to accelerate its competitive return and is prepared to pay the price, whatever form that may take. Whether this aggressive posture results in a blockbuster addition or remains strategic posturing, one thing is clear: the league is watching closely. When the Patriots move with conviction, history shows the consequences tend to extend far beyond one locker room. For now, it remains rumor and speculation, but the kind that keeps general managers awake, wondering if the next seismic shift is already in motion. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our New England Patriots, be sure to subscribe to Patriots Hub and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.